Okay, so this day is almost essentially like a review day. What we've done before in Chapter 7, Part 1 was divide by monomial, which is essentially like dividing the coefficients, subtracting the exponents. But when I divide by a binomial like this, there's another way to do this, but you're essentially just factoring. So pretend the denominator is not there, okay? I have what's in the numerator, and we've been doing this for the last week or so. There is no GCF. That's always what you check for first. It's not a slip inside because there's not a number in front of x squared. So pretend the x minus 1 is not there for now. We're going to break this up into two binomials. Since c is negative, remember my only possible combination for a negative is a plus minus. What two numbers multiply to get 8 and subtract to get 7 are 8 and 1. But we are going to take the larger number and it has to go next to whatever b is. So since b is positive, 8 goes with the positive and 1 goes with the negative. Now here's where we bring back that denominator. So I'm going to bring back the denominator x minus 1. Anything divided by itself essentially cancels or divides and equals 1. So if you notice what's in the numerator versus denominator, since x minus 1 is in the numerator and x minus 1 is in the denominator, they essentially cancel out. So my answer is x plus 8. So this lesson is more or less just dividing out while you factor, and it's asking what the second factor would be. That's all. So if we look at number 1, again, ignore the denominator. Let's look at the numerator. There's no GCF. It's not a slip and slide. Since c is positive, my possible combinations are plus, plus, or minus, minus. But since the b is negative, it's going to be minus, minus. What two numbers multiply to get 21 and add to get 10? That's 7 and 3. And since they're both negative, it doesn't matter where the 7 and 3 go. When I bring back that denominator, the ones that divide out are x minus 7, x minus 7. So the second factor is x minus 3, and that's your answer. Number 2, no GCF. It's not a slip and slide, so since c is negative, my only possible combination is plus minus. And what two numbers multiply get 45 and subtract to get 4? That's 9 and 5. But again, since the signs are different, we take the larger one, which is the 9, and we're going to put it with the negative since b is negative. We bring back that m minus 9. And this is almost like a self-check because I know one of my factors should be m minus 9. If I don't get m minus 9, that means you did something wrong. So my answer is m plus 5. Now, of course, the reason why I called this a review day, because look at number 3. If you look at what's in the numerator, it's not a trinomial. So it's not a basic trinomial. It's not a slip and slide. But we refer back to dots. So since we're left with a binomial, check to see if it meets the 3 criteria. Is it subtraction? Are 1 and 25 perfect squares? And is the exponent even? Because it meets all 3 criteria, we're going to break it up into 2 binomials. The square root of y squared is y times y. The square root of 25 is 5 times 5. And the only way to get that negative and eliminate the middle term is to add a plus and minus. And again, whenever I have the denominator, I have the same sign. They divide out. So my answer is y minus 5. Following? Look at number 4. So again, it's not a trinomial. So it's not a basic. It's not a slip and slide. But it's not even a dot because the exponent is even, but 2 and 16 are not both perfect squares, and the exponents are not even on both. It's not even subtraction. But we always check to see if it's a GCF. So the GCF of 2x squared and 16x are 2x. When I divide that out, I have x plus 8. Now, if you look at what's remaining in the parentheses, we check to see if it's a dot because it is a binomial, but it's not subtraction. 1 and 8 are not perfect squares, and the exponent's not even. So I'm done. This is just a GCF question. When I divide by the x plus 8, the x plus 8s divide out, and so I'm left with just the GCF of 2x. If I look at number 5, this is our first slip and slide. So the 2, 5, and 12 do not have a GCF, so this is a slip and slide because of the 2. I'm going to slip the 2 to the 12. And so 2 times negative 12 is negative 24. Oops. And then we factor it out like normal. So since c is negative, it can only be a plus minus. 2 numbers that multiply get 24, but subtract to get 5 are 8 and 3. Now again, since 8 is larger, we're going to put it with the positive. And then since it was a slip and slide, which some people forget the more we do this, that I have to bring back the 2 as a denominator and simplify. 8 over 2 simplifies to 4. So the first one is x plus 4. The second one, it does not simplify beyond 3 over 2, so we slide the 2 to the front, and then 2x minus 3. Now, since this was a division problem, the 2x minus 3 is what divides out, so my answer is x plus 4. If I look at number 6, off the bat, it looks like a dot, but the only thing that makes it a dot is the subtraction. So we check to see if it's a GCF. The GCF of 10x and negative 15 are 5. And then when I divide that out, it's 2x minus 3. Again, that's all I can do to it. So we're going to divide by 2x minus 3, which those divide out. So my answer is just 5. If I look at number 7, I'm left with a binomial, and this one is a dot because 16, 1 are perfect squares. It's subtraction. My x1 is even. So we're going to divide that, factor it. The square root of 16 is 4. The square root of x squared is x. And the square root of 1 is 1. The only way to get the negative is the plus minus. And then we divide by 4x plus 1. That's what divides out. So my answer is 4x minus 1. If I look at number 8, it's not a GCF, but it is a slip inside because of the 3. So I move the 3 to the 6 and multiply. I have y squared minus 7y. 6 times 3 is negative 18. Since c is negative, my only possible combination is plus minus. Two numbers that multiply get 18, but subtract to get 7 is 9 and 2. 9 is the larger number, so it needs to go with the negative. But because it was a slip inside, I have to bring the 3 back. 2 over 3 does not simplify, but again, make sure it's the denominator that slides to the front. So it's 3y plus 2. I have some that are doing the numerator, so always look out. 9 over 3 simplifies to 3, so there is nothing to slide. Now remember, this whole purpose was to divide by y minus 3, and those are the ones that divide out. So my answer is 3y plus 2. Of course, plenty of extra practice on the back. I'm going to eliminate 15 and 16. This is just another way you could see it written. Keep in mind, it's the same thing, but instead of fraction form, they use the division symbol. So if I look at number 9, it's not a slip inside, it's just a basic. Since c is negative, my only possible combination is plus minus. Two numbers that multiply get at 33, but subtract to get 8 are 11 and 3. 11's larger, so it needs to go with the plus. And again, since I just need to divide c minus 3, those divide out. So my answer is c plus 11. That's it. I'm going to skip 10. If I look at number 11. So again, I'm dividing by m minus 5. I look for a GCF first because the only thing that makes this a dot is the 4 and the 2 and the subtraction, but 20m takes that out. So the GCF of 4m squared and negative 20m is 4m. When I factor that out, I have m minus 5. And then divide by m minus 5, those divide out, so this answer is 4m. If I look at number 12, the GCF, so this is not a slip and slide because it has a GCF of 2, so don't forget to always be mindful of that. And so now it's not even a slip and slide at all because of the GCF, but don't forget to bring down the GCF. This one, since c is negative, it's going to be plus minus. Two numbers that multiply get 35 and subtract to get 2 are 7 and 5. Since 7 is larger, it has to go with whatever b is, so that's negative. And again, this wasn't a slip and slide, so there's nothing to bring back. But the d plus 5 does divide out, so I'm left with 2d minus 7, just like that. If I look at number 13, same idea. This one is a slip and slide because 4, 3, and 10 do not have a GCF. I'm going to slip the 4 to the 10. And so negative 40. Since c is negative, it has to be plus minus. And two numbers that multiply get 40 and subtract to get 3. 8 and 5. Wow. And since 8 is larger, 8 goes with a negative. And then since it was a slip and slide, don't forget to bring that back. And I can already tell that I can tell that I'm not done because I'm supposed to factor out x minus 2. And since I don't have x minus 2 yet, that means I'm not done. So then I slip and slide the 4x plus 5. The 8 over 4 simplifies to 2, so there's the x minus 2, which eventually divides out. So my answer is 4x plus 5. Last one. So it's not a GCF, it's a slip and slide because of the 6. 6 times 12 is 72. Since c is negative, it's going to be plus minus. Two numbers that multiply get 72, but subtract to get 1. There's 9 and 8. 9 is larger, so it's going to go with the negative. This was a slip and slide, so don't forget to bring back the 6 and simplify. 8 over 6 simplifies to 4 over 3. 9 over 6 simplifies to 3 over 2. The first one slides to 3n plus 4. The second one slides to 2n minus 3. But we divided out the 3n plus 4, so my answer is 2n minus 3. Okay.